Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to Devils United. We're back again with another preview, and this is a very, very good preview as it is Derby Day. One of the best days, of course. We got two great previews coming ahead, but we've got Andy and Chloe. Andy, how are you doing?
Good. Just about got over the weekend, but looking forward to going through it with you guys tonight, and looking forward to hopefully a Derby win this weekend. Because based on what's going on with Arsenal at the moment, we could all be on 42 goal difference if we're not careful by the end of the night.
I know. Chloe, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Just like Andy said, just getting over the weekend now, and yeah, what a weekend it was. We'll touch on it, and yeah, good to be back on the show and looking forward to this podcast.
I'm looking forward to it too. After a horrible weekend, but of course, you both had a very, memories. Let's just say. I know the game isn't a memory you want to keep hold of, but it's the first FA Cup final. But before I do get into the show, we will just quickly say hi to people who's in the chat. Hey there, Rather. Hope you're well. Thanks for coming in. Moving like the class of '92. Hey there, Endman. Hope you're well. Thanks for coming in. We definitely should do something. Just give me a shout and then we'll get something arranged. Hey there, Statman. Hope you're well. Thanks for coming in. Hey there, Sophia. Thanks for coming in. Hope that you are well. Hey there, Niall. Hope you are well. Thanks for coming in. Hey there, Luca. Hope you're well. Thanks for coming in. Hey there, Reese. Hope you're well. Thanks for coming in. And just as Reese said, hit the like, share, subscribe as well. We did touch on it a little bit as well backstage. Luca, bad news for Arsenal injury for Arsenal women. Yeah, it is bad, all the injuries, what is going on. And hey there, Indian Scouser. Hope you're well. Thanks for coming in. And good evening to yourself. Thank you for coming in. Hope that you are well. Do you know, like, I actually had a good discussion with Lotte on Monday, and we actually touched on about the ACLs. So I wanted to actually get your opinion on what she said. She thinks she obviously is not certified, but she thinks a potential issue with the ACLs is the football boots, because a lot of the women still wear men's football boots.
Yeah, I think I've seen people put that as well, like on Twitter and stuff, and I think that is something to do with it because of the way that the boot is. It's molded to a men's kind of foot, so the studs are a lot thicker because of a male foot and stuff like that. So I don't know how they would be able to do it in terms of creating a boot for women and for girls, because obviously a lot of us have grown up wearing them when you used to play football. It was always a male boot. You never with the girls, Ella, Lesser, they are all wearing male boots. They are all doing social media adverts for them in male boots. You never see a specific advert by Nike, by Adidas, by Puma going, this is a women's boot only for women, or unisex boot that is modified to fit both styles. And I just see that can be one of the issues because of the way it is fitted, but I don't know how you would go about changing it and changing the way that it happened, because it's now becoming that they're all unisex. If you go into Sports Direct, JD, they come up unisex. It's not just, it don't come up in men's football anymore. It's just either football and football boots, and that's it. You don't see it's men's football anymore.
What's your thoughts on that point as well, Andy?
Well, I'm just looking at it now as you're talking about it, and I know they already do exist. The women football boots designed for women. The problem is they're a lot more expensive than the more obviously mass produced boots. And I'm just looking now on the Adidas website. I'll put it in the chat. But basically, they do women's, what are advertised as women's football boots, but they're £250. So I don't know how that compares with the sort of standard price for an adult men's boot. But I think the problem is I think there'll be two elements to it. Both it'll be people buying into it, because most female friends of mine have explained that, for example, that they use male razors because women's ones are terrible. So there might be a belief initially, well, why would I want a woman's football boot? Because the men's are going to be built better. So there has to be some education to explain, well, actually it's to do with the arches, it's to do with the different shape of the foot. Because normally the view is, as I said, with razors, for example, that they would not go for the specific one. I think more research needs to be done, and especially if Adidas do it, which I've now found out that they do, then obviously they've got that sponsorship with Man United, so they should make it a bit more obvious that they are not unisex boots. But I do find it interesting what you're saying about studs and sticking into the ground. I've heard that the leg can plant a bit more, but that's more to do with the way apparently on average women's knees, the contact points are where the actual anterior cruciate ligament touches the bone. There's less space basically. So you think of that as your knee, there's sort of less contact points with women compared to men. So it doesn't take as much. So if your foot plants, you haven't got as much there before there's a problem, before things can tear and slip. But then I've also seen studies that say that actually anatomical differences make a lot less of a difference than they originally thought they did to ACL injuries. So it then leads more towards equipment and more towards building up stamina in the legs as in the academy levels. And nobody's given me a good reason, for example, why we're not moving towards an under 23s now, why we've still got under 21s to full grown women, and that's going to be a hard jump across.
Mm-hmm. Is there anything else at all you want to touch on about this as well, Chloe?
Just touch on like what Andy's been saying. I think like if like how he was saying, like in terms of the knee, if the knee was going and like you ACLs rubbing against it, wouldn't you think you'd have a desiccated knee before tearing the ACL if it was that kind of...
Well, there's just about contact points. Obviously, the ligament is attached to the muscle, which is attached to the bone. So what they're saying is not just rubbing, that there's just less space because it's on average narrower, smaller knees, wider hips, that things are at more tension. Because if you think about it, if you had a piece of string and it was straight up, that's one thing. But with obviously traditionally the hips being more diagonal, you're sort of pulling it already at an angle. But they're kind of guessing because there isn't really enough research that's been done on it at the moment. But certainly it should be a standard that anybody in the WSL gets access to specific women's football boots. Should be a doll for them to do. Adidas, as I say, do them. So they, I should be able to buy them. And then obviously look at individual clubs like Arsenal who seem to be doing something strange with their preparation or their physio or something like that.
The thing is I think as well, they might, like, the girls might know that there's women boots out there, but they might think, I'm more comfortable, like you touched on it, Maisy, I'm more comfortable in men's boots because I've been playing in them for years, and they don't want to go to the women's boots because they might be retiring, or so, like, in terms of how many years, and about the prices as well. It might be cheaper to buy a men's boot because they might have a sponsor with Adidas, even though like they've got women's boots at Adidas. And I think it all just depends on what the girls prefer to play, because when I used to play, I could only ever get men's boots. There was never any female boots available. And now when I go in and have a look, like just to have a quick look, it never says women's boots. You either see men's football boots or unisex. You'll never see in the stores. You never see women's. So unless it's only online, which for me I think's wrong, because if the girls want to try the boots on before buying them, then I think they should be put into the shops.
Yeah,
So,
I think it's going to be more about academy and about years and mileage in the feet, how much training they're going to get, the levels of the academy. Because all right, Arsenal have had 4 ACLs this year, 3 of them at the Emirates. The men play at the Emirates. It's not the pitch. So what are they doing in warm-ups? What are they doing with everything like that? And I think it's difficult because there is apparently anatomical differences with the foot, but it's less well known compared to obviously differences with women's hips versus men's hips and other areas. So it's something that people don't really know, as much about. And I think it's one of those where I think we have to do something, and I'd much rather look at equipment and look at training and look at academies rather than looking at what I do worry about, which is more extreme examples. People that might say smaller balls, smaller goals, the pitches are too, maybe the game's too long for women and stuff that's just rubbish. Because that's what I think the next stage is if somebody doesn't do something. So hopefully, if you look at the equipment first and the academy, the strength in the legs and the hours on the pitch, because basically, I remember speaking to someone who did under 12s stuff up here, and he was saying that he teaches men and women, girls and boys, obviously that level, but the girls you can struggle to get enough for a team, and you might, whereas with lads, every single time you've got enough 10-year-olds, enough 11-year-olds, enough 12-year-olds, enough 13-year-olds. So it can be really hard to get the games time for the girls, and obviously that's what builds up stamina, builds up resilience, and builds up, the strength in the legs.
Yeah, absolutely. I think either way, it does need to be looked into. But I do disagree with Reese's comment about smaller balls, smaller nets. We had that Emma Hayes debate. And I don't believe that the net should be smaller. I don't believe the ball should be smaller either, in my opinion.
I think I read Reese's question as he's saying if that happens,
it's not quality. Yeah, he's against it. Yeah, I think he's saying he's against.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Reese is more saying that if that happens, it takes away what the women have achieved.
Okay, that's fair enough. I read it wrong.
I do.
You know me, I can't read things proper. But let's move on anyway. I know we're not going to want to talk about the FA Cup, so we'll just slightly touch on the atmosphere at the end. So we'll go on to the game in itself. It is going to be a big game. We know that City mathematically can't get into the Champions League now. So it is definitely going to be us alongside with Arsenal and Chelsea. It's just a matter of who's going to finish where. Chloe, what's your thoughts on how the game's going to turn up? Do you feel like City, now they've got nothing to play for, they might feel like it's a bit like, how can I say, oh, well, I'll play however I want to play kind of way?
No, I think City will go all guns out, because if you think I don't know if you could get the table at Maisy.
I can indeed.
Because I think if City win both of their games, I know you can't. I know they can't theoretically get in, but because they're only on 44, if they get 3 more points, obviously they go level points with Arsenal. But again, it's all about the goal difference. Mm-hmm. So, like Andy touched on before with the Arsenal game, it's Arsenal. We could all be on 42 goal difference, and then it all comes down to. Obviously, the Chelsea game will be played like in half an hour, and obviously then we'll know, and it will literally go. I think it will literally go down to the final game, because for us as United fans, we're hoping Arsenal are going to win against Chelsea, so Chelsea drop points, and obviously then we can, after that game, we can then focus and go, right, we need to beat City, we need to get this many goals against them, and I think City will come out. City will want to stop us from winning the league, like they always do. But they know that they won't be able to get into the Champions League unless Arsenal lose by so many goals in these next 2 games. and they score so many goals in these next 2 games. So it's going to be an interesting game on Sunday. For us, we need to win it. We do. We need to win this game. We need to win the Liverpool game, and we need to score the goals, because if we don't, and it gets to the 42 goal difference on everyone, because obviously, like I said, Chelsea play later, so their goal difference and goal tally could rise. So it all goes down in terms of, as long as we score against City, as long as we score against Liverpool, we'll have at least top 2. So I think we win against City. City will come out all guns blazing. They'll obviously, all the balls will go to Bunny Shaw. Bunny Shaw's their threat. If we can do what we did with Rachel Daly at the Aston Villa game, what we did with Bethany England at the Tottenham game, and stop Bunny Shaw from scoring. I know we didn't with Aston Villa, but we did stop her scoring a lot more than she should have done, than she did. But I think if we can stop Bunny Shaw from scoring, then we can easily win the game, in my perspective.
Mm-hmm. What's your thoughts as well, Andy?
Yeah, I think it's going to be I worry it's going to be a tougher game than you would expect, because it was a loss at the weekend. I knew that if we'd won the FA Cup, we'd smash City and would be running high towards Liverpool. The sort of elements that I'm more concerned about is that the final game that Chelsea plays against Reading, so we can't rely on goal difference, because I'll tell you for a fact they're going to have more than we will, because they'll go to town on Reading. Reading could be down by then, depending on how it goes, or very much still fighting for their lives. So it might work in our favour in that respect. I think that, we've seen online today, we discussed it backstage about the lack of rotation that Skinner does. That a lot of players have had very little minutes in the WSL. You would hope that he would see ways to do that. But obviously he has got an element of just win baby going on at the moment, when he just wants to throw everything at the kitchen sink. But Ella's been tired. Katie Zennon was my most frustrating person at the weekend, and I won't go into it too much. But but again, she's constantly playing every game. She's not got a rest, apart from the game that she was suspended in. And arguably her midfield was better with her off the pitch than it was on it during that game when she was suspended. So I think, at home, under the light, well, not under the lights actually, because it's obviously getting towards summer now, but at home in the evening, on a Sunday evening, it's going to be a sellout crowd at LSV. We have a chance to definitely, beat them well. And I think once we do that, Liverpool should be roughly a free hit. I mean, it's hard as United fans, because we are looking at it now, the back of my mind is thinking, well, if a miracle happens and West Ham do a draw or they nick a goal, that takes you to 50 points, equal with us, or 49 if they did beat us, and then we've both got 2 games left, But in reality, because Chelsea have got to play Reading, I think they've got the league, because they're just going to smash them, and they'll smash them quite highly, like they did, against Everton recently. So it is hard, because it still looks like it's all to play for. But I hopefully, the next 2 games is about cementing second place.
Mm-hmm. Hey there to our Lumber. Thanks for coming in. Always good to see you, as always. And hey there as well to Liam. Thanks for coming in. Hope you are well. Absolutely big game ahead for us. I completely agree with what both of you are saying. I've always said, it doesn't matter if you're a men player or a women's player. If you don't turn up for a derby, you are not fit to wear the badge.
Yeah.
That's what I always say. If that's City or if that's Liverpool, if you don't turn up to any of them 2 games, you're not fit enough to wear the badge. You're not fit enough for this club. I know that sounds quite harsh when I do say that, but I always feel like if you can't turn up against your rivals, what are you doing here? And I do think the FA Cup blunder, it will take out a lot for the players, because I think they might feel a little bit down on energy perhaps, especially some of the comments later on what Matt Skinner was making about the defence. If the defense was a little bit quicker, we could have saved that goal. I think that might it might knock a little bit of confidence down on a couple of players, perhaps, which is a bit of a shame. But I do think if we manage to keep certain players quiet, I don't see why we can't go out and get this win. Because we got a draw against in the Etihad, and the Etihad is I don't like praising Man City, but in terms of pitches, they've got a fantastic pitch for a men's team.
Yeah.
And I do personally think if you're getting a draw here, there's no reason why you can't get a win at LSV.
Yeah, it's going to be more of our atmosphere. I think it's one of those where it's just so much in flux at the minute. As well as if end of the season, who we're going to retain? Is Honor going to go? Is Leslie gone? Is Mary going to have her option taken? What's Skinner going to do next year? Does he realise that certain players like Cascarino's on loan, so she's going to leave because it's the end of the loan? And what will be achieved there when you bring someone in and not play them really, apart from once or twice? I think it was against Sunderland and stuff like that. I think, I suppose maybe, obviously in the men's game, the FA Cup final is the final game of the season, apart from Champions League. And people do say one or two things about cups, don't they? That they kind of wish they had a game next week to sort of, put it right kind of thing. And most of the time they don't. Or as you say, they can just get their heads down. So I suppose you could say, well, the game against City would be a great game to put it right and to get back on our horse a little bit. Mm-hmm. And and obviously then Liverpool again, we're going to be up for that as well. Again, the only thing about Katie is whether or not she was all right this time at the Etihad. She kind of hid it quite better. I think she's been spoken to.
Talking about Zellum though,
hopefully she's not going to do.
Asked why did she frustrate you more?
Well, I'll just finish this point, but yeah, hopefully she's not going to do the whole hempo, huggy, kissy stuff that she did right at the end of the match. But what frustrated me more, I mean, to be honest, I'll be honest, Reese, I'm not an angry person. But for some reason, I wanted to punch a wall at the end of the game on Sunday. The issue that I saw, and I can't remember it too much now because my brain has helped me by forgetting elements of the game, but basically, she started making big missed kicks and kicking that she normally does and kicking it to Chelsea. And I think that part of the goal build-up was involved in that. And maybe the issue was as well, then as a team, we all kind of did a bit of a domino effect. So Mary started doing the distribution that she did in 2020. She started kicking it straight out. Then, there was some other mistakes made then by Hannah and by Mannion. But specifically, Zellum annoyed me for the same old story we've been talking about for the last 2 years, which is, there's no consequence for mediocrity. That she can do. She can have the game of her life, and she can have the worst game of her life, and there's absolutely no consequence. There's nothing changes. Next game, she's there with our captain armband on, running it. Now, I was making an argument with Chloe at the time, saying that in the men's game, I appreciate it's hard to drop your captain, but at the men's game, Ten Hag has dropped Maguire, and all right, he becomes captain again when he comes back on the pitch. But it is possible to drop your captain. Now I know that the men's game is different than the women's game. I know that Maguire is a hell of a lot more disliked than Zellum is, and Zellum's not exactly loved from what I can see online. But I'm not saying drop her because she has got abilities, but at least someone is happy to sub or rotate. You've got Lisa Nasterdon, on the bench. You got Bo Reese there. You had opportunities there, and it just and because of, I mean, you're never gonna. Well, saying that, Skinner does criticize players publicly. But the problem with Skinner is the only thing he says about Zellum, she is amazing, she is brilliant, she is amazing. It's never anything above world class, anything different than world class. Now we know she's not world class. I believe Katie Zellum knows she's not world class. Hell, even Alan Zellum probably knows she's not world class. World class is Alexi Putellas. World class is Oberdorf. World class is, But to defend, he does this apparently, and apparently he's done this at Orlando Pride when he was manager there. He overcorrects to defend his players who he feels are under unharsh criticism. But all it does to me specifically is wind me up more when I've got someone there saying, you're wrong. Well, fine. I've got no qualifications in coaching. He has. But then saying, you're wrong. She's the second coming of Christ. She's not. And we need to change the substitution, change the formation, at least be happy to rotate. If you want to make this big deal, you could even, Barca's got a 4-person captaincy squad. Technically, we've got 4 people. If you want to do a bit of like lovey-dovey PR, you could say, well, we don't have a captain in our team. We have a group and everybody's a leader, blah, 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 bullshit. Yeah, you could talk about that, right? And it being a group effort. You don't have to make it embarrassing if you drop her. But the thing is, she just went off the ball. And as a player, the only things that I could say that I specifically struggle with, and I think I know the answer to it, is that a couple of years ago, Zelen would kick it over the bar a lot. So I used to joke that if I was behind the goal a bit high up, then I'm in sort of Zelen zone. But now she doesn't do that. Now she's a lot more accurate. But I've noticed the pace has fallen off the cliff when it comes to how hard she hits the ball. And I think the problem is that she clearly doesn't. She can't put power through it. If she puts power through it, she loses accuracy.
Call me mad though. Zellum actually wasn't too bad until Matt Skinner came in, because he's converted her into a more defensive-minded player.
Yeah.
And for me, when I've watched United before Skinner, or I like to say Skinrash, decided to come to be Manchester United manager. She was a box-to-box midfielder. She wasn't at all in the slightest defensive. I don't think she has the attributes to be a starting 11 player. I do personally believe that. But I do think that this is what the problem is. He has that criticism that people should be versatile. Fine. I can see where he's coming from on that. But then he changes Taylor Ladd, who's an actual defensive midfielder, to going forward. And he changes Katie Zellum, who goes forward, into playing defensive-minded. And the pair of them don't even play in their natural roles anymore. You've got Leah Galton, where he criticised that she needs to play in the middle and plays on the right, even though she's left-footed. Yep. She's one of the... for me, she is the best winger in the world, in the league right now. Yep. But she cannot play in the right because she's left-footed. She can't use her right foot. You're looking at, for instance, he's saying Tooney wasn't physical enough. But what I have seen this season, he doesn't change that 4-2-3-1. If he don't want to change it, fine. I don't like the 4-2-3-1. I think it's crap. But you look at what Serena Vagan does. She plays the 4-3-3 now. Ever since the new players have come in, Tooney's playing in a deeper role in that 8 role. And why not for me? If he was, this is a very long shot. If he was to drop Zellum, which bloody hell will freeze first. If he was to drop her, I would actually play Tooney in the 8 role, where she has actually played her best games this season under Serena Vagan.
Yeah. I mean, the problem is with Zellum is with Tooney is that she's also knackered, because he's kind of done a bit. He's kind of done a bit the same thing with her to an extent. I mean, he's not really rotated. Obviously, I know we'll let you jump in, Chloe. We're just got to bounce off each other. But I think the problem is, like, we haven't spoken about Zellum for a while because it's kind of like death and taxes. Zellum in midfield seems to be like a certainty in life. But I'm just thinking about it from like, a goalkeeper point of view. I'd love a shot of Zellum because I've got so long to. You talk about height differences. I've got so long to get across to the corner. I could pretty much like take a stair lift from the sort of center to the right, because their ball, the penalties are just so slow. And I do wonder, and maybe I'll throw this out as a question before we get Chloe's thoughts, but I do wonder, we've done it even more on steroids recently, this whole walking it into the net thing. The whole team now has become very ticky-tacky, even in the 18-yard box. We've started to really try and walk it in. Is that an correction? Because to stop the situation when Zellum gets the ball and she doesn't shoot because she hasn't got the power to get it in from the 18-yard box.
I'll go with you on that first, Chloe.
I think it can be both, really. I think depending on who we're against, if we're against Arsenal, Chelsea, City, you're going to be more crowded than you are against your Leicesters, your Readings. So you're not going to have that time. So if you've got the time to walk it in, and just have a little pass about, then let them do it. For me, but if you're against your Arsenal, your Chelsea, you should be just hitting it when you can. If you've not got anybody around you, hit it. And if you can't shoot inside the box, lay it off to Honor, lay it off to Hannah, Leah. But for me, I don't think. I know we'll come back to me in a minute for like my point of view, but if you can't shoot with inside the 18 area because you're crowded, but then you've got no one around, like no other players around you to help you out of that situation, then I don't know how you'll be able to get out of this situation. Because if you're Zellum and you're crowded by 2 or 3 players and you can't see Honor on your left and Honor on your right and Hannah on your left or Leah on your left, then the only way is to go backwards. Then that's the only way you have to go to get the ball out, or you have to just shoot it. And yeah, it might go over the line, it might go over the crossbar, it might hit the post and go out for a corner, or it might just go straight to another player. It might go to one of them and then it leads to a goal. So it's different ways around it that players and teams will deal with it. And if you've got, like I said, if you've got no one to help you in that predicament, then how are you supposed to be able to get out of it and be able to have that shot on target if you've not got the help?
My problem is though with Skinner, like not necessarily as a problem, but he only wants attacking in certain places. Like we never see attacking from in the middle. When all our threats this season have come from our wide areas, which has come from our fullbacks and the wingers allowing it to get crossing, if that's Lundell or if that's Honor. And sometimes it works out in our favour because we've got the best we're the best team at the moment with our corners and set pieces in terms of goals. But the problem is that we come in, how can I say, very predictable of where we're going to be scoring from, first of all. And secondly, when we're playing the likes of Arsenal, City and Chelsea, I think the players are thinking to themselves, I want to be precise with my shots. Because you look at Russo and Toon, think about how many sitters they have had this season and they have missed them.
Yeah.
And I think you noticed it especially when it came to last weekend, Russo especially, she was wanting to be precise. Like, I want to be here. I want to be. They're not looking at power. I know this is like, I know I always say a goal's a goal, but apart from Bo Reese's free kick, I can't think of a fantastic goal we scored this season. I genuinely can't.
Yeah, I mean, it's a power across. I mean, we've had the goal was against Tottenham when Honor crosses it in with a lot of power, and then Galton goes in. I just had an interesting development, by the way, while we were discussing. I've just gone through the Wizard online, and the women's football boots for Adidas, when you get to the point to select size, it says this is a unisex item. To help you out, what size do you normally wear, men's or women's boots? So that only do exist because I've heard that professional players talk about it, but clearly it must be now bespoke. It must be your Ella Toon, your Russo has to knock on Adidas's door or Under Armour or Nike and say, make me some boots, please. Like, I don't want to give the guys in the chat, because you know what men can be like in relation to nervousness when they buy this statement. But I know, for example, that all the female players for the Lionesses had customized sports bras for the tournament. They actually went to Nike and they got everything scanned, and they literally were made for them. So until you get to that level where things are being made bespoke, clearly there's going to be an issue with the men's and women's shoes, football boots. But yeah, going back to the main point, I think, to be honest, the thing I've noticed, the difference between Chelsea and us is the pace. So the ball just travels quicker through the air. There's no other way of putting it. And even when you're watching it, it's like ping pong. It crosses in, and your sort of head goes like that. This is what happens when Zelen crosses a ball in.
I'm doing it with you. It's slow. Let's just say it is slow.
No, I'm being a bit of a bitch there, but no, genuinely, there's a difference. The two players that stood out to me massively with power is three actually is Kerr, Guru Wrighton, and Harder.
Agreed.
Like the ball just goes, and me and Chloe went to watch Chelsea Barcelona, and again, Caroline Graham Hansen, accurate and power. The speed is just something different, and a lot of it's reflex. You just look, oh great, it's just hit the bar. Oh great, it's hit the post. You don't even see it coming, and I think that would definitely be a skill. If we could get someone with a bit more power, but there's so many issues at the club that we could spend hours on it. But if we are turning into Lionesses FC and have an almost 100% English squad, that has negatives as well as positives. Yes, it means that we'd get money off England. Yes, it means that they'd get used to playing.
Don't you need to have so much foreign players though?
Not foreign.
You've got to have so many holes.
You can have 100% UK squad if you wanted to. The rule is the other way around to stop. Was it Arsenal and the men years ago who had a 23-man squad? None of them were English at one point, and that's what the or Scottish or Irish.
Okay.
So you could have a fully English squad, but the problem with having a fully English squad would be is you lose the sort of culture and styles of the Spanish, of the Germans, of the Dutch, and just like in life, a mixture is better.
Absolutely. Hey there, Daz. Thanks for coming in. I'm well, thank you. Hope you are well too. Hey there, Lanzel. Hope you're well. Thanks for coming in. 3 points and coming. And hey there, Vincent. Thanks for coming in. Hope that you are well. I do also agree with what Lanzel said, is that we do need a killer up front. And I was actually talking to Lottie about this on Monday, and I said I like Russo. As much as I like Russo, she is not a 15-goal this season striker. And that you look at us, we've scored a lot of goals this season. Galton has over exceeded in her goals. Paris has scored nearly double digits compared to our 1 goal last season. You've got Rachel Williams.
Oh, Maisy's frozen for me.
She's frozen.
Yeah. I just wanted to check it wasn't me that was frozen for you, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it's just Maisy.
Yeah, so I think obviously Reese is making the point here. You can have up to 8 homegrown in the team, and but that's apparently what they do with some of the men as well. I read that City have got a 42-year-old keeper in their squad that's English to get around that rule, like a 4th choice keeper. But yeah, I think it's that way around. I don't know of any rule that would mean that you wouldn't allow 100% homegrown. But yeah.
Well, I think in Arsenal and Chelsea, they've had to, in the 23 squad for Champions League, half of them have to be English.
But they couldn't all. But there isn't a rule against them all being English, though, is there? That's the thing.
No. Well, yes, you do have to have foreign. You can only have only have so many players that are homegrown and tick the box. It's why Viv, and I think Viv's been taken off. Viv was taken off so Gio could be added, and Beth was taken off so Jodie Taylor could be added, I think, but I don't know. So.
Just looking at some of the comments here while Maisy probably kicks some router somewhere. in the Greater Manchester area. Obviously, Ravi's saying you need to start Garcia as she's wasting on the bench. It's just about aggression. We just need pace and speed, and a lot of Skinner's style is ticky-tacky, which is fine. But the issue with it is that it slows down the game. And if you've got players like your Chelsea's, like your City, like your Arsenal, they've got the stamina to run back, to get in position, to reset. You're just letting your defence reset, really, in my opinion. What's your view on Garcia in relation to being a starter, Chloe?
I think it just depends on what team.
About that, well, Wi-Fi went off. Typical.
No, I think it just depends on what game Garcia or what team we're playing, in who starts on the wing with Garcia or with Paris, because you're not going to swap Leah Golton, because we need that right winger, and like Maisy touched on before in the podcast, Leah can't play on the right because she's left-footed, and so you're always going to have Lucia or Keats on there. And yeah, they do switch over in games, because it's just obviously to try and play out and give that, like, try and tire the other winger out, and then you go onto your right side. So I think it just depends on who we're playing. But yeah, Garcia she's a very good player. She should have been starting more, but obviously Keats has been playing in the WSL a bit longer, so that's probably why Mark suggests that Keats plays more than Garcia does. But
yeah,
you want me to get that spreadsheet up?
Yeah, I was just saying, just feeling amazing. The reason why I was highlighting that comment is that we were talking about. So what's your view on Garcia? Do you think she should play more?
To be honest, I will give him more starts. I understand what some of the games he starts Skinner in. I mean, when he starts Paris in. But then you look at, for instance, when he starts her against Leicester, I think you've got so much open space there. Why are you not starting Garcia for that pace?
Yeah, exactly.
If you want me to be honest, Garcia has worked a lot better coming off the bench than she actually has started, but I do think there should be a lot more rotation. I'm going to actually bring that spreadsheet up. I am going to credit the person who done it, Chris, on social media. But yeah, I'm going to do it, say it out loud for people. Mary Earps has got an average 90 minutes per game, 90 minutes average in a WSL. So this is based on 90 minutes games of football. Laetitia is averaging out 89 minutes. Zellum is averaging out 85.5 minutes. Toon is averaging out 82.75 minutes. Turner is averaging out 80.80 minutes. Blundell is averaging 79.3 minutes. Ladd is averaging out 78 minutes. Galton is averaging out 77.65 minutes. Honor is averaging out 76.5 minutes. Russo is averaging out 71 minutes. Paris is averaging out 58.15 minutes. So that's who's in the green.
Yeah, and that's obviously just the league, because if you look lower down, it shows that Bagley and Lisa don't have any times because they've not played in the league, whereas obviously Bagley is our cup goalkeeper, so she has had minutes. So if it was all like, if WSL, Conti Cup and FA Cup were all put together, you would see that there would be a lot more. It might have changed. So the person who's done this, Chris, might at the end of the season might do one where the whole of like the season, including the cup games, will be brought into it, and you'll see how like the difference is. But you have a look there, and it is literally like a starting 11. It is our starting 11. So it's one of them that you can see the difference. And obviously Honor's lower. I thought Honor played a bit more, but with her injury, with her head injury that she had at the start of the season, that's why. And obviously she missed a couple of games due to concussion. So it just shows that obviously they have been rotated, and then we've had injuries to 4, and obviously Lisa got injured again, and Casarino hasn't played that many times. Mannion's only just come back, so it just shows that the players that are getting minutes are preferred to Skinner.
Do you want me to go through the rest of the minutes from the players?
Yeah.
Garcia's averaging out 36 minutes 5. Thomas is averaging out 19:35, which actually surprised me because I thought she would have had the highest.
Higher,
Yeah, it does feel a lot higher. Maria's averaging out 14.55 minutes. Bo Reese is averaging out 12.85 minutes, probably because she played a full game against Tottenham. Otherwise, that would be a lot lower. Mannion is averaging out 10.5 minutes, but she actually missed half the season and she's got higher than a lot of people.
Yeah.
So that really speaks a lot as well. Rachel Williams is averaging out 8.35 minutes, which surprised me as well. Lucy Staniford, who left in January, has got 8.55 minutes. So she's got more minutes than 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 players for who's currently at Man United.
I got even more now being at Aston Villa because she's played every game.
And then I think going from that point, you see Leon's essentially on loan, but an average of 1.45 minutes.
So that one's Leon's on 5 minutes.
Oh, 5 minutes.
Jade Moore's on 1.45.
1.5, yeah, and then it gets even more ridiculous. I mean, so you can even look at the total minutes for Cascanero and Tucara is 4 minutes. 4 minutes total
between them both.
Why did we get them? Remind me. You know, I mean, I'm not saying they're not bad signings. I just don't know. He does this. He kind of bought. He buys like really quite far ahead when he needs players. But yeah, it's an average of 0.2 minutes for Cascanero. That's 20 seconds.
And just as Lando said, Tucara was the France captain beforehand.
Yeah, she was because she replaced Wendy Renard when the ex France manager was against Lyon players playing for the team.
Mm-hmm. I think that does show there is clear and obvious favourites, and people said it's a business at the end of the day, and he wants to try and get his contract. That's fair enough. If he wants to try and get his contract, fine, but it's not fair on everybody else. At the end of the day, you're looking at Bo Risa, she's lost some international breaks because of that. And she could have had the opportunity to go on loan in January to Italy, and he rejected that. He rejected Lyons to Italy in January, only to loan her out to the NWSL anyway. Personally, the NWSL for me is probably the better move, knowing she's Canadian. It's a lot better for her jet lagged. But you look at it, and just as Reece said, Lyon's an Olympic champion who's actually won more things than the substitutes who come on.
As much as we've been kicking Skinner, though, I suppose we should be positive about one thing, which is he did highlight the lack of investment with Glazer being there. He did have a little dig in the interview saying that it needs more investment to compete with the top three.
What's the point? Genuinely, what is the point in him having investment? He's got good players there. He's got PSG player on loan. Yeah. He's had Brunner, who was a Lyon player on loan last season. He's got Tucara, who he came from Atletico Madrid, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And that's Atletico Madrid, a top team in Spain. You're looking at, for instance, as well, Lisa, she was constantly getting in that Norway squad. A lot of the players are fantastic players, and some of them could easily get into Champions League football. The way they play, they could easily get Champions League. But 100%. He does not use them.
Did you find out, because he mentioned it in the podcast that they did going up to the final, the official supporters club did a podcast with Skinner, a 12-minute interview rather than a podcast, just as a point of amusement. He mentioned what football team he supported or supports as a kid. He actually mentioned it, which is quite interesting. I heard rumours it was City. It isn't. Skinner apparently is a Villa fan.
Let him go to Villa then. Let him go to Villa then.
So would you suggest? Would you suggest that his performances, again, I only have a cursory glance of the men's game, but his performances mimic Villa generally, which is shows promise and then falls over at a certain point?
Let's be real though. Like, right, if we went and got some fantastic players, you can see all these players. Like, I think we're linked to this Dutch player now, aren't we? And the thing is, what be the point in bringing her? Because it's always gonna be Letizia Turner, or Mannion. So,
Yeah.
what was the point in getting Tukara at the end of the day? Look, I feel sorry for Tukara. This is the only time I actually see Tukara these days. Literally on a picture or by the admin. I never see her any other time these days. It's a shame.
We just haven't had a chance to see it, and this is a problem. Like, you know, if we're going to have a big squad, he's going to have to make these changes. I mean, clearly, it's like, how lucky can you be? Like, you have to sit there and think, I can't see it, I can't stand the guy, but he must be doing something right because of where we are. That's probably part of the truth.
Could you also argue, though, no injuries?
Well,
no, not.
Yeah. Yeah, I suppose we got lucky in that respect, but in the past we've had it at different times of the year. I mean, it's going to be an interesting summer. It's going to be an interesting, the overall point about the club being sold needs to happen, soon. I mean, I'm not even involved in the men's side, but even I'm sick and tired of it. Oh, these people on Twitter, Sheikh blah 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 has decided to do this. Oh, Sir Jim Rat, whatever his name is, because I haven't decided if I like or hate him. Is going to do this. Oh, that's great. Oh, that's horrible. I want to murder you. Oh, it's like, I'm just sick of it. Just put a line in the sand and tell me what the situation is going to be. My gut feeling, and a few other people I've spoken to, said that Ratcliffe's going to win with two Glazers left on the board, and God help what happens next year. Because I could tell you from this is kind of what I do for a living job, that in reality that means they've got no power. That means they're on the way out anyway, and it's kind of all in all but name paper ownership. But I think for most United fans, including the 1958, that it's just going to blow up next season if that's the case. But if we go for Qatar, then you've got a very bad record when it comes to LGBT and women's rights. But they could say that to cover themselves, they could throw money at the women's team to show, yeah, look at us, we like the women's game. So from a women's fan, I suppose I should be putting my hand up for Qatar, but I'm just sick of the discussions about it.
Yeah, it is going too much. I'm hearing new things constantly every single day. So
it wouldn't put me past me if Radcliffe and what's his name, Sheikh whatever, is in Monaco. Him having a drink, Sheikh having a, I don't know, hashish or something, laughing about what's next, on what they're going to say next. How much have you won? I've done 5.5, I've done 5.6. Because I just think it's all bullshit. Nobody actually knows.
Mm-hmm. Do you know, as well, I don't know if you've watched this. Maybe you might have both have watched it. So basically, in terms of the Glazers, currently there's Class A, Class B shares at Manchester United. I'd say, for example, Jim Ratcliffe was to buy 3 of the Glazers. The Class B shares are only for Glazers. They're not for anybody else. So if Jim Ratcliffe went and bought the 50%, the Glazers will still have more of a say, but the only 2 left, more than Jim Ratcliffe.
Yeah. Go on.
It's complicated because as well as that, you've got a percentage of it that's openly traded on the NASDAQ, on the New York Stock Exchange. The problem is that they need to realize that they need to get out now, but they're greedy. They're greedy, literal corporate leeches. Why do I say this? Well, not just all the stuff that everyone's spoken about in relation to the men's game, but I've seen what they're like with Tampa Bay. The other team they actually like, the sport that they actually like, they're on the pitch, they're doing interviews, they're very active. So it shows you that they don't. It isn't just by accident. They're NFL people basically that have had what they would call a soccer team for the last 20 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and as well, Jim Ratcliffe currently owns Nice, and apparently Nice is in a very bad way, due to Jim Ratcliffe. What's your thoughts on the whole ownership stuff as well, Chloe?
it's like you said, Maisy. I've seen that much stuff on Twitter and on the news about it. I just want it over and done with. I think the Surgeon Ratcliffe one, if it's keeping the Glazers here, I don't want it. Because I've read that by 2025 the Glazers should be out. But that's another 2 years that we have them for, and I'm just like, no, I don't want them. But then in terms of the Qataris, I'm thinking of what the Saudi Arabians have done to Newcastle United and the Newcastle United women's teams, and having them play at St James's Park and having the investment in the women's team. And I'm thinking, if we got the Qataris and they did put with what they released to obviously the public a couple of months back, I think it was in April when they released that statement, and they said about the investments and who they're going to invest in, the academies, the women's teams, the first teams, Carrington. So if they can do that, if they can hold to that promise, if they can clear the debts, if they can be 100% behind the team and behind all sets of teams, then I'm happy. I'd be happy with that. Oh, City 1-0.
Yeah.
But I think if we can have the Qataris, in my head, I think it'll be a lot better as long as they put money behind the women's teams. I haven't heard anything from Sir Jim Ratcliffe if he would ever put money behind the women's team. And
he did say it about Chelsea, but didn't with us.
Yeah, and I don't think Nice has a women's team, so it just makes me nervous if we got Sir Jim. It does make me a little bit nervous. Whereas with the Qataris, they didn't mention it. So
they do have a women's team.
Pardon?
They do have a women's team.
They need to have a women's team. I thought they did, but I couldn't remember if they do.
I don't know how good it is, though, bear in mind.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see what division they're in. I think they're in the second division.
Yeah, I think they might be in the second league. So I think for me, I'm more leaning towards the Qataris, but it's just because that Sir Jim Ratcliffe is going to work alongside the Glazers still.
Yeah, I've got the table up here now for Lille's women. They are in the second division, currently sitting in third place at this moment in time. And it looks like
there's only how big's their league?
12, just like ours.
Yeah, so they're in mid-division then, the mid-table. So it's one of them. It's like you don't know who to trust, because obviously with what's happening in Qatar, like what Andy said about the women's rights, the LGBT rights in Qatar, you don't know how much they'll be behind and backing that. But like Saudi Arabia is the same, and they have backed the women's team for Newcastle. They have backed that, and Abu Dhabi is the same, and they've done that with City, and how far City have come after obviously Abu Dhabi's bought City. So I think if you've got a business, if they're going to make you money, if they're going to make you profit and sell tickets and sell shirts, then they're going to focus on that, and they're going to know that they've got fans that go to them games that are going to make that profit. So it was down to the Glazers in the first place that the women's team was disbanded for United. So if they're going to carry on working, if Sir Jim Ratcliffe's going to carry on working with the Glazers, then I wouldn't. It's one of them. I don't know what would happen.
To correction of Reese, Empty Had is quiet. It's actually quite near me, and I can't hear a single thing of theirs. Hey there, Andrew. Thanks for coming in. Hope you are well. And hey there, Hassan's VIR box. Hope you're well. Thanks for coming in. Not seen you in the channel before. I hope you're better than actual VAR, let's just say. I've got my predicted lineup for the game. No not much changes, I don't think, but the lineup I've gone through is Mary Earps, Hannah Blundell, Mannion, Letitia, Honor, Zellum Lad, Galton, Toon, Garcia, and Russo up top. What's your thoughts for both of them? I'll start with you, Andy.
Do you think he'll drop Turner then?
I think he will drop Turner just because I think for me, City have got Buddy Shaw to consider. They've got Chloe Kelly and they've got Lauren Hemp to all consider at the end of the day.
I mean, I think you probably know a lot more than Skinner, to be honest. I'd rather have this formation. But
you know what? Put me as manager.
Well, apparently there is someone who works for the Northern Ireland women's team who looks like you. So you have got a doppelganger knocking around. Who works for that team. I would say, yeah, I'd be happy with that.
Mm-hmm.
Whether or not Garcia will start over Paris, I don't know. I think, but again, Chloe, I'll probably say next that, with Skinner, the only changes he makes is in the wing and obviously Mannion v Turner, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think he will make any other changes. We know that he doesn't change the midfield. That's the thing that he doesn't change. I would argue that I actually want to see what Rachel Williams does starting, but we all know Russo's not going to get dropped. And I'd like to see Toon in a deeper role in the 8, but that's not going to happen either because he's not going to drop Zellum. So this is the best, what I think, using Mark Skinner's brain, but I think it's hard to go into Mark Skinner's brain under the same breath. Maybe it's not so hard because it is the same lineup week in, week out. But, Chloe, what's your thoughts on my predicted lineup?
Yeah, I think it's a good lineup. I can see him going with it, but I could also see Keats playing only because she knows what the City girls are like. She knows the way that they play. In terms of like the defense and stuff, for me, Mannion, I think Mannion would start just because Millie played the whole 90 on Sunday. But my only concern is Hayley Ladd because she's on 4 yellows. If she gets another yellow, she misses Liverpool's game. So for me, would I risk Hayley Ladd? I probably would. Just hope she doesn't get a yellow card, but bring her off in the second half and make sure that she's off. Bring her off, put Lisa on in her place or Lisa on in her place, and make sure she's rested for the Liverpool game because I'd rather have her at the final game of the season and her playing.
Mm-hmm. Andrew said, it's written in the stars. Chelsea lose at Arsenal. We beat City, but then we get beat at Liverpool to lose the league.
Well, luckily that won't happen because Chelsea have still got to play Reading. And so whatever happens, get your calculators out for that because obviously they're going to solve that problem. But yeah, that could have been a way it works. No, I think we will beat Liverpool. I appreciate Liverpool have played very well against Chelsea recently and other good teams. So I think us messing it up would be drawing against Liverpool, not losing.
We need to win both our games and we need a loss at the end of the day. It's 1-0 Chelsea now already.
14 minutes, Neve Charles.
Can I just come in? Mary Earps has officially won the Golden Glove.
That's fantastic news as well. It's great as well with over the years what's happened with Mary Earps as well, and to get that confidence. She's had the best season going. I think she isn't good enough for me at the moment to win Player of the Season for Man United. I will say that. But she has been fantastic as well under the same breath. I think it's the second half of this season what's let her down for me.
Yeah, I think obviously we get the fans vote. So there's going to be certain fans go for Lionesses and then others that go for Honor, Maya, Leah. But for me, the player's player of the year is very much up in the air because you don't know how the players are going to vote. And if I was a player, the amount of times that Mary saved, especially saved the defenders and the errors that the girls have made, I would my vote would be on Ertz because she's literally saved us and put us to where we are now.
You know who could get players player? Well, there's two in mind for me. No,
Leah.
I'm going to say Leah. Letitia is going to be one, I think, players player. And
Yeah.
another one, but I don't think people are going to expect, is Hannah Blundell.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. Is there going to be a young one?
Yes, they've got this in Jimmy Murphy award. They're doing it for the women's, for the old academy coach.
Yeah, it's in name of Emma, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, so they're doing that as well. And just another one, if you've got the Manchester United app, the votes are now being taken for the men's player of the year, the women's player of the year, and the men at the minute just the men's goal of the season. There will be a women's goal of the season, I think, soon being put up there. But at the minute it's only them three that are on.
What's everyone's player of the season then?
I've gone for Honor. I've gone for Honor in the women's and Christine Eriksen in the men's.
Well, what I'm doing in 2 weeks, I am doing an award ceremony on my channel. I know that just sounds very, very cringe. So I will be doing an award ceremony for my men's player of the season, my women's player of the season, the Rising Stars player of the seasons. So it's players from 21 and under who has been the best in the squad, and also goal of the season for both.
Nice. Yeah, that sounds good. I'll be up for that.
What's yours, Andy, as well? Player of the season?
Obviously, I can only focus on the women's. I mean,
yeah.
I keep thinking of Honor because I worry she's not going to be here. Oh God, I don't know that. I don't know anything about that. But though it has to be Honor. She's consistently, if not the best player on the pitch, both stats wise. When you look at that Google thing that we look at, but second to best, on the pitch. If I wasn't going to say Honor, then you would say somebody like Leah, who has played, and built up and played in such a freedom way, in such a brilliant way. And as you say, like a surprise would be Hannah Blundell. You could argue maybe the reason why we hadn't seen Jade Riviera until last weekend, well, the weekend before, is because, she knew who was coming, this young kid, and she really stepped it up. And she's meant that Skinner can look at more of it as a longer term thing rather than a sort of straight change, which it could have been, with obviously Jade being a top player.
Yeah.
Twar Lumber, man. I just looked at Twar Lumber's comment. I was like, Twar Lumber, come on. What I did also mention, I will be doing a live chat play of the season as well. So I will add everybody's up in terms of the players, and then whoever gets that will be at the end. So gives everybody all night to vote. But we'll quickly do a couple of comments, and then we'll questions, then we'll wrap it up. Let's have a look. We've already touched on that. Question from Rabbit: who are the dangerous players for City United need to stop? I'll go to first with that, Chloe.
One name and one name only. Bunny Shaw.
Yeah.
She is their threat. If you give the ball to Bunny, she will shoot. So whoever's in that central defensive role needs to mark Bunny with their life, because she's a player that I would love to have at United. I would love to have her at United. She's fantastic inside the box, outside the box, with headers. She gets stuck in. But my other one, or well, you could say the other two, would be obviously is Chloe Kelly and Lauren Hemp on the wings, because without them, Bunny's not getting the crosses in, and it's 2-0 City, Maisy.
Oh, brilliant. What do you think as well, Andy?
Yeah, same point. Bunny Shaw's the obvious one. Lauren Hemp, when you think about it a little bit more, and Chloe Kelly, they're the sort of three that have carried them this season. I think that's the thing. I would also say the other thing you need to do to beat City is to wobble Roebuck, which is easier and easier to do these days. If she loses her confidence, put her under pressure, press her a bit, we should have some opportunities there.
Another one, what we haven't mentioned, I think Asiwana is a potential threat. I think she was a bit wobbly, but she's really found her feet now at City.
Yeah, I agree. I think she has as well. I think when she played for West Ham, she was a bit wobbly. She didn't know the role she was playing in, but now she's kind of found her feet at City. So I think if she does start, she is going to be a threat. But my only other one, if you like, not focusing on like the top three, would be, and it's not to do with in terms of defending wise, it's more of set pieces, and that's Alex Greenwood, because of her set pieces in terms of the free kicks, of the corners, she can get them in. So if we don't mark them set pieces that Alex does, because it could be Alex, it could be Steph Horton who does the free kicks. If we don't mark them, then they're going to cost us goals. And it's one of them that if Alex does the corners, it'll find the head of Bunny Shaw, of Chloe Kelly, of Lauren Hemp. So it's one of them that she's kind of like the forgotten player in terms of one of their hardest players, and obviously with her being with her being an ex-Red, it makes it more. It's like it hurts us to see her doing so well as well.
The thing is, I do personally think Alex Greenwood is actually sloppy as a left centre back.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, I actually think Steph Horton covers her quite a lot. And I never thought I'd say grandma, as we would like to say, covers for Alex Greenwood. But I think it really shown, especially in England, that when she doesn't have a centre back who complements her, she really does show a flaw, a weaknesses. And especially having Jess Carter next to her. I think she is a lot better left back than she is as a left centre back. Yeah. But that's not how she's used at City. So I think that's something that we could actually get at. Especially that's why I said Garcia should start, because Garcia's pace would really, really hurt Alex Greenwood, in my personal opinion. We'll do this other question. It was from Reese. Based on how our season has gone, what do you hope to see United achieve next season, or what do you think United's target should be? I'll go with you, Andy, on that.
It's a difficult one because it's so many variables. We discussed about the ownership. We discussed about how much money we got, who's going to stay. But I think the target next season has to be, well, Champions League again at a minimum, but actually winning a trophy, whether it be the Conti, which is obviously inevitably a lot easier if we get into the group stage of Champions League, the FA Cup, or obviously the league. I think we're maybe a couple of years away from the league, but I think basically Champions League and a trophy of some kind.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. I think for me, it all depends on how many players we lose. I think our first aim is to get into the group stages of the Champions League. That is one aim that we do need to do, because I don't think we'll get automatic promotion. It's just a matter of we're going to get into whatever playoff it's going to be. And then after that, we're just going to have to we've got early start for that. That's got to be a priority. And then afterwards, if we get into the group stages, the Conti Cup's not a worry. Personally, for me, I don't see the Conti Cup as I don't see it as a priority personally. As much as a trophy is nice, I want to go for the FA Cup. I like the FA Cup; it's a beautiful trophy. What's yours as well, Chloe?
For me, obviously, it's like you've both said, getting into the group stages of the Champions League, and then like what Arsenal and Chelsea have done, they got into the quarterfinals of the Conti Cups, which made it easier for them to then go on and be obviously against each other in the final. Obviously, it would be nice to win the league this season. It would be, but obviously with the games that Chelsea's had to obviously play now, and they're obviously at the minute they're still 1-0 up. But I think if we could go for the league and Champions League again next season, that'd be incredible. That would just show that we are now in the fight. It's not just a top 3; it's a top 4 now with us. And I think, like you said, Maisy, I don't think the Conti Cup's such a big trophy anymore. It's like, as we say for the men's team, the Carabao Cup's the Mickey Mouse Cup. So in the women's, it's the Minnie Mouse Cup. So I think the FA Cup should be our priority, as well as winning the league and as well as getting in the group stages for the Champions League. For me, they're my 3.
Mm-hmm. Just to finish it off, Twelve Lumbers asked, is Chloe Kelly available? I don't know the updates with Chloe Kelly.
I think isn't the question, was she available last time we played City?
I don't know.
I think she was. But she might have been injured. I can't remember.
Yeah, she's come back from an injury, wasn't she, thinking about it?
Didn't they only make like one substitute, and it was
Haley
Fast? Was it Fasso?
Rasso on it. Was it Rasso?
I think it was Haley Rasso. Yeah.
I think we were all, because I think Laura Coombs obviously scored against us, and I think Chloe Kelly was on the bench but didn't come on, or she was, or she started and then went off for Rasso. I don't know. You'd have to go back and have a look when we played them against Etihad. It'll tell you the teams for it if you go on Soccerway.
We'll finish off with Ian's comment. Hope you're well, Ian. Don't think we should be looking down at any trophy personally. You have to win something to start building a winning culture.
Yeah,
I do see where the point is there, but under the same breath is the group stages of the Conti Cup. I just can't be doing with group stages of the Conti, to be honest.
Yeah, as much as I like going all the way to Durham and freezing areas off in October, I can't wait to go straight through to the quarterfinals. But
yeah, no, if it's the quarterfinals, I'll be happy with that. Yeah. But I just can't. I can't do it.
The only way we'll get into the group stage is if we get out in round 1. But if we finish second, we go into round 2. So I think we do just miss out on the group stages. But I could be wrong.
Okay. Yeah. With that, anyway, we will wrap it up. Thank you both, Andy and Chloe, for coming on. Andy, would you like to shout out your socials and score prediction?
Oh, score prediction. It's a really hard one recently, isn't it? I got, obviously, Tottenham right, but I think it was Tottenham I got right. But I didn't get Tottenham right. I think it was Brighton, wasn't it? 3-1 United.
Ooh, I like that. I do like that.
Hopefully, in the sense of one back at the end, not 1-0 down and having to win the game. But you never know what Mark Skinner that we get every time we take the field, really. And my handle now is at _LJO at LJO__87.
Thank you for coming on. Been a pleasure as always. Chloe, would you like to shout out your socials?
Yeah, my score prediction is...
and score prediction, sorry.
All right. I like the goals, like I said, but with it being City, it's going to be a hard one. So I'm going to go with Andy as well. I'm going to go 3-1 United. My socials there, Chloe Riley 14 on Twitter. Thank you for having me on, Maisy. Fantastic podcast again with 2 of my favourites. So yeah, and can't wait obviously for next week for the final one of the season and it being against Liverpool next week.
Absolutely. Thank you both for coming on. Been a pleasure as always. I will be next live on Friday. I'm going to go for a 2-1 win for Man United. I think we'll score first, then we'll concede, then we'll score again. So I think we'll do something that we didn't do at the Etihad, basically. But what I'm going to do is I actually will do a vlog. I haven't done a vlog for quite a while, and with it being the last day of the season, with it being City, I thought I'll do one because I thought it'd be a good experience to do. So you can check that out. I'll probably upload it on the it's a Sunday when we play. I'll probably upload it on the Monday, to be honest, just because of the timing and stuff. So I won't be home till about 11 o'clock. So yeah, thank you both for coming on. Been an absolute pleasure as always. Hit that like and subscribe. As I said in the comments, I will be live on Friday and with Craig for a Bournemouth preview. So take care. See you later.